Well, first of all, we were talking about the Monique situation, and she feels that she should get the same as him or whoever, whatever.
Close to it, she said.
Yeah, and it's like it's not really about that. Netflix is just fucking with him. They've always fucked with Dave. They don't really fuck with us, but white people built Dave. He's never, for a fact, he's never made niggas laugh until
Well, it ain't funny now.
uh,
Come on, Chappelle Show classic.
no,
Chappelle Show was
no.
funny.
Charlie Murphy's writing, rest in peace, was classic. Dave showed there was a season before that was whack.
Which one?
The first one.
No, man.
Yes. Yes.
Chappelle first two seasons was great.
No. The first season. No, the first season was.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to RDNA. That clip you just heard was Faizon Love and his opinion on Dave Chappelle and the merits of his comedy prowess, and a few other things. I did a video earlier today about about the Monique situation with Netflix, and one of my subscribers, he was like, "Oh man, you spoke on Monique." I was like, "What about Faizon?" And I had an opinion on Faizon and what he had to say, and I had to say this from watching. Like, I've seen a few Faizon Love interviews, and on some points, not about Dave Chappelle, but just his general interview. Faizon, he makes some points. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those guys that on some points you agree with him, and then on some other points you're like, this dude is on some bullshit. But I think a lot of times he overspeaks. Like, he kind of understands what he's saying, but he don't necessarily know all the details of what he's saying. So he kind of misspeaks a little bit in that way when he in this interview and others. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed that because, like I said, I watched a few, and I watched some of the places that he interviews on. Those are my normal spots. But just in terms of what he had to say about Dave Chappelle being funny, you know what I'm saying? And I have to say that, first of all, whether or not you find somebody funny, that's subjective. So, that varies. That varies from person to person. I'm sure there's other people that would agree with Faizon that Dave isn't funny. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those people. I think I think before the Chappelle Show or any of that, I think I saw one of his specials that had been on Comedy Central, and I changed the channel. You know what I'm saying? He said a joke that really wasn't my thing, and I changed the channel. But over time, I ended up watching that whole special. Like, man, this dude's pretty funny. And a lot of times, exactly, is about giving something a chance that you hadn't necessarily given a chance before. And that's kind of how I got into Dave Chappelle. And once I watched the whole special, like, man, this dude's pretty smart. You know what I'm saying? The way he put his jokes together. You know what I'm saying? The way he conveys a message. You know what I'm saying? He can make you think. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like about Dave Chappelle. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as Faizon, I consider him to be more like a crass, you know what I'm saying, humorist. You know what I'm saying? He's not, he gonna say something that jive with you. You know what I'm saying? If you're from a certain space, you just be like, yeah, you just relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Or you relate to the way that it's put, and if you're well-rounded, you could do that with all different types of comedians. You know what I'm saying? You could have your street guys who talk this way or that way, or use this language or that language. You know what I'm saying? Or you could relate to the guys who lean towards a more highbrow type of comedy. You know what I'm saying? And in my opinion, I would have to say that the cream of the crop when it comes to highbrow, you know what I'm saying, thinking comedy is, you know what I'm saying, is Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying? Chris Rock, man, that new special Tamarine, that dude didn't miss a beat. And after 10 years, man, he came back and killed it, the same as he did the last time. So, and that's what it is, man. People respect that, man. Like, whatever Faizon was saying about the Chappelle Show, the first season, man, those first two seasons of the Chappelle Show were all bomb. I think that's universal. You know what I'm saying? So that was one reason why I really hadn't put too much thought into what Faizon said, because the shit was just nonsense. Really, and just in terms of the funny, you know what I'm saying? It only got funnier when you started getting the true Hollywood stories, you know what I'm saying, with Charlie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. to the brother. Like I said, Faizon makes some good points on certain things, but a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, in this particular, when he's speaking about Dave Chappelle, he kind of just talking out his ass. really. You know what I'm saying? And he might believe that. You know what I'm saying? But that's how, you know, I mean, sometimes Faizon is like one of those dudes, you know, who likes to pour cold water on shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? If there's a fire burning somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Faizon's the guy to come up and pour cold water, because I've heard him do it to Kevin Hart. I heard him do it to Kevin Hart on the Breakfast Club. You know what I'm saying? And probably on Sway in the Morning too. So, you know, it's not surprising from Faizon, you know, that he would say something like that. But I don't think that's true. I think the culture ride for Dave Chappelle. You know, I thought he had earlier in the interview he said something about like Flip Wilson having owned the rights to the Flip Wilson show. That was a sketch show back in the day. And that was a whole different time for black people and black people entertainment in general. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Flip Wilson, his show ran and it was successful. You know, I didn't get a chance. I don't know personally, we know what his hardships were, but, you know what I'm saying, he stuck it out, you know, for whatever reason. And that might have just been, you know, contract situation. He might have just been stuck. But, you know, like I said, that man Faizon, he's entitled to his opinion. It just so happens, I think, that most people would say, you know, it would be more, you know, of a universal opinion that he's wrong on that. You know, Dave Chappelle is supported by the black community. I think that there are a lot of black people that have a high comedy IQ. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and I think that, you know, Faizon as a comedian will fall into that lowbrow comedy. You know, that lowbrow comedy bar is where he sits at. And that's no disrespect, because that'll get you laughs too. But as far as his commentary on Dave Chappelle and the reasons for his success, man, I give Faizon Love 2 thumbs down. Hey, it's Mr. Williams, RDNA. That's just my opinion. Holla at your boy, Bees.